Welcome back, everybody. This is Coffee, Cocktails, and Capitalism. I'm Morgen Reynolds, founder of Beyond the Trend Marketing Agency, and we're here in our studio in scenic and beautiful historic Vero Beach. Today, I have a really awesome guest I'm very excited to learn more about and to also share some of the stuff we're working on together, Dave Imler.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting.
So real quick off the top, why don't you share, your hand in a couple different things. You've got a couple different businesses going. So just let people know what those businesses are, and then we'll kind of reverse and go back to the beginning.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. So here locally, I own and operate or oversee Shack Shine. It's a house detailing business. We do exterior house cleaning, window cleaning, and Christmas lights at Christmas time. And then I also run a mortgage brokerage up in Toronto. And we're also opening up here locally.
That is
Two things
awesome.
we do. Yeah,
What is the name of that brokerage?
So it's called Revo Financial, Revo Financial.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
we kind of do full service mortgages, from whether you're buying a house or building a house or looking to consolidate debt. We kind of try to take a little bit different approach to normal lending. We don't just look at ourselves as people who are going to lend you money. We look at people who are going to help you. We look at ourselves as people who are going to help you grow your net worth. So when we help people partner, like you're buying your first house, you can think just interest rate, just payment, but people don't necessarily think of it as in the overall landscape of building your net worth and your retirement and the whole thing. So we try to help people have a holistic view of their finances.
That's very interesting. And so a little portfolio management almost.
So we don't necessarily get into portfolio management. That's like a financial planner's job,
Right.
but we can advise in just considering how you manage your money overall. So you have more money available to, say, put aside with a money manager or buy more real estate, or so you're kind of diversified in how you approach your finances.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
So let's back up for just a minute.
Yeah.
So you said Toronto. Is that where you were born?
I was born in Toronto, and the east side of a place called Scarborough. It's like a little suburb, not a suburb, a little pocket of Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have a lot of family up there still, or most of
So
them?
my mom's sisters are still there. My mom and dad, my dad's American, my mom was Canadian. They raised us up there, and then my mom and dad moved back down here
Okay.
about 20 years ago. So
To the Vero Beach area?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah, they moved to Vero Beach 20 years ago.
Wow. So how long have you been down here now?
I've been here for 4 years in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you miss Canada, or what? You must miss some things.
I miss the seasons. Like it's nice having seasons. I don't miss the gray of winter. I know it's the gray of winter at all, but the snowfalls, the skiing, whenever you want, I kind of miss that in the wintertime. But the beautiful days here in the winter more than make up for that. And then the people, you always miss the people. I love living there. It was very multicultural, and I mean, there's tons of people. Sometimes you love that. Sometimes you wish that wouldn't be.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I miss some aspects, but we love Vero Beach. It's a really great place to live.
Really kind of starting to feel like home.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. First year you go home, you go back to Toronto to visit, feels like that's still home. Second year, you're kind of like, where is home? Third year, you're kind of like, oh, maybe there's home. And now it's kind of like, no, this is
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We moved here 8 years ago, but I moved away from Chicago 11 years ago.
Okay.
And we still go back every Christmas to visit all the family and things like that. But I can relate that for a couple of years, you still feel a little bit in between. And then it really just kind of feels like, okay, well, I've been here for a minute. I want to go home, and home is back in Vero or back in Florida.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
See how that happens.
Yeah. So growing up in Canada, where did you kind of start working? What was maybe like a first gig for you? What were you interested in kind of breaking into, earning some money in the world?
So when I was a teenager, I worked like as a janitor, after school kind of thing for a company.
Okay.
And then I got into car washing and working at Costco. And then out of school, I actually went right from high school into Bible school.
Okay.
And right into church work. So to be honest, I wasn't thinking about money at all.
You were being altruistic.
Yeah, it didn't matter at all.
Good for you.
Until at one point, I heard somebody say, money's not everything, but it's awfully close to oxygen.
True.
Yeah. So I got into church work and kind of in the city, developing mentoring programs for youth, and we were partnering with like local high schools and that kind of thing. And
Okay.
it was kind of a really rewarding work. I didn't necessarily anticipate getting out of it, and we developed basketball programs and internships for kids, and it was a lot of
So
fun.
interesting. So how long were you kind of doing that for?
So in total, I've done that for 15 years. And yeah, so 15 years in various roles.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
We are going to have a separate conversation about that.
Yeah.
Because in my 20s, I worked for a mega church outside of Chicago.
Did you really?
Yes. And the most hilarious part is I did several different things there. I worked as a marketing consultant. I did small groups and community building. And then at one point, they asked me to take over their sports league, which was part of their evangelism ministry. I don't play group sports. I mean, I played soccer growing up, but then I stopped doing that. And I danced and I horseback rode and I did marathons. So kind of all these like singular, like you against yourself kind of activities. And then, here I was trying to manage the volleyball and the basketball and the, men's flag football team,
Yeah. And for a mega church, that had to be a lot of people.
It was a lot of people, but I mean, it was great. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I successfully managed to not have to play any of those sports, even though, Morgan, we just need a sub, just sub in. No, you don't want me. Trust me.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's amazing. So you did eventually transition out of it though. How did that come to pass?
Like, can I be flat on it? Like, transparent about it? Like, we were in a role where I was the executive pastor, and there were some things that happened behind the scenes where there were value conflicts, and I had been I would just have quiet times really early on Sundays before church and all the responsibilities rolled out, and I stood up after I was finished one time, and I saw a picture. I've got 4 sons, and at the time they were, let's say 2, 4, 6, and 8, maybe. No, 1. They were 1 through 7.
Wow.
And there was a picture of us on the mantle, and I just asked the question, like, would I be comfortable with them reproducing the values of the leadership of the community we're a part of?
Oh, that's
interesting. You don't want to be critical because you really want to be careful that you don't develop a chip on your shoulder or make decisions that are judgmental.
Right.
It was an honest just assessment. And I was kind of like, no, I don't think I do. And my wife had challenged me a few times. My grandfather was a pastor. My father was a pastor. And then now I was a pastor. My wife would ask, you don't, like, a lot of what you like to do in church, you don't have to get paid to do. Like, she just started the question, like, what if you did something else? And I really, at the time, like, even being in church work, read a lot of business biographies and was interested in business and looked at some potential entrepreneurial ideas, and actually got down the road on one that we maybe were going to start while I was still working at the church. And just kind of started to look for other opportunities because of this values conflict. It kind of forced my hand a little bit. They were happy with me and the work I was doing, but I was kind of like, I knew I wasn't with them in heart. And so I had a few different opportunities. One was managing a coffee shop for a friend of mine that owned a couple coffee shops. And he was kind of a growing business. And then another was raising funds for a not-for-profit for a really good friend of mine that started just by a not-for-profit, just by giving a little girl a pen and a paper, and it changed his life and morphed into something cool. And that was like really inspirational. And like, maybe that. And then a friend of the family's that was a mortgage lender had said to my dad, "Hey, you could come do this." And I had never thought of it. I mean, I barely understood it when we had our own mortgage. But I understood like listening and serving people, and putting your hand to something. I'm convinced if you'll travel the path, you can learn it, and so
if you believe in it, right?
100%,
I think that's so much of the battle.
Very much so.
If you can find something that you can really just honestly and transparently support, that really helps.
Absolutely. And that was the only path that didn't have a paycheck. And I had 4 kids in tow, and my wife wasn't working, and we were leaving a minister's job.
What did she say?
She's very supportive and very faith-filled. Like,
that's great.
So she was on board. I don't think either of us really knew exactly what we were getting ourselves into.
Do we ever though?
What's that? Yeah. Yeah. So I figured a way to get myself laid off so I could at least have employment insurance. And now by being fully transparent with the senior leadership of the church, to saying, here's where I'm at, and the family, but would you be open to laying me off so that I can at least have employment insurance? And we decided,
Smart to ask.
yeah, we decided we had a bigger family, so I went into the role where I knew the earning potential was higher. Just, money's not everything, but it certainly provides more
It does make
opportunities.
life a whole heck of a lot
It
easier.
does. It does. So we got into that, and that was kind of like where I kind of naively fumbled into the entrepreneurial reality of starting your own. I was a solopreneur, starting your own thing and learning from others, and then along the way latching on to mentors and growing as much as I could. And yeah, so that was how I got into that business.
Wow.
And that was in 2010, the end of 2010 I started.
Okay.
And now it's grown, and I have a team up there, and it's going really well. We're having a lot of fun helping families buy houses and growing net worth, and it's really good.
Cool.
And the cool thing is it kind of came from a space where we went in. Anyway, this is probably a whole nother podcast. we through a decision I made in between some of our ministry ventures, we lost a whole bunch of money, and so this was really something that helped us grow and get in a better place. So because we're able to do that, it helps us partner with other people now and help them get in better places, and it's a lot of fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So 2010 is when you started, you said, with that business, and 2008 in America was a very tough year.
Yeah.
So was there some of that in Canada? I'm not fluent at all in the Canadian economics.
It wasn't as bad in Canada as it was here. The banks are heavily regulated up there, so there's not that many major banks. So I think there's 6 or 7 banks and like five. They have what they call the big 5 out there. So that wasn't as impacted, and our real estate values didn't bottom out like they did here.
Interesting.
It also wasn't as like hyped as it was here either. Do you know what I mean? Like our values and so on. Now I think now they're a little hyped. Like this.
Also in Canada.
Oh yeah, like a starter home up in Canada is $650,000, and that's a deal.
Wow.
And how we're outside Toronto,
So do you feel that has more to do with kind of inflation and how money has been moving, or is that because there's truly just a shortage of homes being built for the amount of people that are looking to live in them?
As to why the housing is so high there?
Yeah, because people are kind of talking about both those scenarios, I think, in the U.S.
Yeah, I think it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
It's supply and demand. And like Canada, I forget what the population is now, if it's 38 or if they've crossed 40 million, but they let in 1 million people from outside Canada a year or two ago. I forget which year it was, but they when it was before COVID, they were letting in 300,000 a year.
Okay.
And I think 200,000, half of that was landing in the Greater Toronto area. So you've already got 5 or 6 million people there that have new housing starts happening all the time as well, and then you're interjecting people, and these people that they were bringing in before COVID were people that had to have a certain net worth, had to have certain skills.
It was very regulated and banned.
And ready to buy. So actually it wasn't like and there was a huge influx for a while of Chinese buyers, where it was like consistently, we made offers, but then a Chinese buyer came in and bought it cash. I think it's mostly supply and demand, and then it's very expensive to develop. So I think one of our major problems is the cost to develop. I was talking with someone yesterday, and it was like, for every, say, $500,000 condo or $600,000 condo, $133,000 goes to development fees. I mean, we're probably getting too much into the weeds, but it's very
interesting.
And that's per condo unit, So
okay.
Anyway, that's into the weeds.
No, but I mean, part of the thing that I love about this podcast is that I get to learn about the details of industries that, you would never think looking from the outside, like, what does a mortgage broker do or need to know, or, what's happening in the housing industry. And it's like, if you just fill out some paperwork online and run the numbers, like, you're good. But I mean, these are all things that you could probably talk for hours about. I know nothing about. I think that's interesting. There's probably a lot of really boring stuff I could tell you about technology and, connecting different platforms from a marketing perspective, although I think you do some of that as well. Because don't you do like graphic design and marketing?
I make all the marketing decisions for my companies, and then I hire it out to people on our team or on our like we outsource it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I used to spend time on on PowerPoint or various things, developing my own slides or not PowerPoint. I use Keynote, but you know what I mean? It's
I'm judging you. PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Oh, they are.
That's back in the day. And I did spend some time on Canva. But then you know how it gets as you're building business, there's the highest, best use of time, right? And what I love most about business is helping people. So I'd rather be sitting with people, solving problems, and networking than muscling through
Right.
Canva.
The day to day.
And it's advancing so fast.
Yeah.
To keep up with it.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard. But yeah, I do like I like our social media posts and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Somewhat on the Shack Shine side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did the Shack Shine thing kind of start?
So that, like, you want, like,
it was a very nice segue, by the way. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice segue.
The Shack Shine started in 2022, or actually today is our 3-year anniversary of our first job.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We made it this far. I'm excited.
That's actually a really big deal.
Yeah, it is. It is, because there was some days where I was like, let's tap out,
Well, for most small businesses, making it past a year is a big landmark. Making it past 3, making it past 5,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a side hustle, right? Like I wasn't planning on doing that. But we moved here in 2021, and it was around the circumstances where my mom had passed away, and COVID was going on, and my wife's dad had passed away as well.
Oh my God.
And just prior to COVID, and they're starting to make changes around when you can and can't cross the border. And we're like, if we need to get to our family, like you should really make some moves here, and I could work virtually and have a team up there. So we said, let's make a move. And we came down here to support my dad and to support my brother as well. My dad and my brother were working together at the time. My dad kind of, I wouldn't say wanting to slow down, but he was keeping up the pace he was, because my brother and depended on the income for the family, and he was looking to slow down a little. And my brother Matt was looking to speed up a little, just seasons of life, right? And so I'm kind of like the firstborn fixer, right? Like if I see something go on,
that birth order is accurate,
right? And so I started looking at different options, and I had actually on the way, and you'll appreciate this as a marketer, on the way out of the town we lived in up in near Toronto, while I was driving the moving truck, I passed this little sign, like a yard sign, it was called "Wow, One Day Painting" was the sign. And I remembered that when I was thinking about what could we do down here. I was thinking of different options because I didn't think I think my brother could do mortgages, but I didn't necessarily know the industry here as well yet then enough to mentor him and bring him into it. And I thought, well, if we buy a franchise, maybe we'll buy a Wow One Day Painting franchise, was this thing. And then it was a part of the same group of companies that 1-800 Got Junk and Shack Shine and Wow were all a part of. And I was looking at it, and the house that I have has to be where we live now. I pressure washed it so many times since I lived here, as far as the driveway. And I was like, gosh, like this is like a recurring,
kind of an essential business here in Florida.
So we looked into it, and I thought it would be a fit for him with his personality. And he had actually, it aims toward dealing with like a higher end clientele. I think we deal with everybody. We service anybody. We don't discriminate, but it's meant for like the person who's willing to pay a little more, who wants the job done, who wants it done right. And squeeze in our exceptional focus areas, we call them. We show up in a shiny, organized van with 2 uniformed techs and get the job done in 1 detailed visit. It's kind of the feeling. So busy people can know the job's done.
Right.
And what was I saying there as far as aiming toward a higher end clientele? And Matt had worked at the Vero Beach Hotel as before he was in renovations. He worked there as a concierge for like a long time, checking in people's cars. And he had job offers from people there. People just loved them. He actually had customers that or patrons that flew him up to New York to go to a Yankees game with them and stuff. Like people
that's so cool.
We just naturally warm up to him. And I thought that's like, we'll do a good job, but also we want that relational connection, and he does.
Right.
And consistently we have that. I'll show up on jobs sometimes to help out here and there, and the homeowner will be like, "Is Matt coming?" They just love.
Who is this guy?
Yeah. So that's how we got into Shack Shine. It was more of like a labor of love, like, hey, let's help and let's build together, and And then it's been a learning curve. We've learned a whole lot. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun is like too simple to say. It's been tears. It's been sleepless nights. I shouldn't say tears for me. Maybe not. But I'm saying it's sweat.
Well,
And,
anytime you're building something new, right?
Yeah.
And if you're trying to roll, I always equate it. So if you're trying to roll multiple balls uphill at the same time, it's just that much more kind of like exhausting and crushing.
Yeah.
So, my husband has his own business. I have my own business. Okay. And, and obviously there's other stuff that we're trying to do and Main Street and whatever. So, right. Sometimes some days it just feels like all the balls have to be like rolled and it's just, yeah.
Yeah. So you get it.
Yeah.
Completely.
So it's totally okay to say that, there's lots of ups and downs, but overall it seems like you are loving it. And it was ultimately kind of a good decision for you guys.
Yeah, I think so. We're making tracks. But it's a grind, right? You have to put yourself out there. I remember the first time I had to put up yard signs outside, feeling like I'm breaking the rules and super embarrassed out there.
It is a little nerve-wracking. There's a lot of rules around yard signs in this town.
There are. We get permits now, but when I first started, I didn't get permits.
Well, you don't know what you don't know, right?
No. I know.
It's a split.
I know. You learn the stuff. So, but no, it's been a lot of fun. And Vero Beach is a great place to do business. Like people here are kind. Like it's just a great place to do business. We love it.
So we have a mutual friend who really thinks that you do a fantastic job. Barbara Ruddy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Barbara. Barbara, if you're watching.
Yeah, she's fantastic. We were just at her house last week.
Were you really?
We was at her house last week. Yeah.
So
she left us a 5-star review.
Aw.
She's
of course
super kind. Yeah, she's so
Barbara is a cheerleader.
Yeah, she is.
We need that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more, maybe in detail, about kind of some of the I don't know, jobs or experience that you've kind of done with Shack Shine since you've been here. You guys started working on the hotel recently?
Yeah, we did the lights at the hotel. And great
at the Kimpton?
The Kimpton is the beach hotel. Yeah, and that's a great job. I have to do a little disclaimer that there's an electrical issue there that we've got to diversify because we're always out fixing things. But
I understand.
And sometimes you go in and they're not. There's a section that's not on. It's because there's an issue with the electricity that we need to reroute in a really sensitive GFI. But yeah, no, we've got Vero Beach Hotel that we've worked on, and then we've done work for downtown here for you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of some of the other. I mean, we do a lot of residential stuff, so I don't want to go to saying whose houses we're working on. We're actually doing a house today that's on the ocean. That's just people getting ready for a wedding. It's this massive place, and they're putting so much care. It's fun to be able to come along because often people hire us before parties and stuff. So come alongside them and get their windows clean, get them all ship shape for their big wedding day on the ocean.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm trying to think who are some of the other folks. We did Marine Banks Christmas lights this year, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To do their lights. It was not quite as glorious as we anticipated because of the hurricane. The trees that even were taken down a little bit, but we tried to light it up as much as we could.
Well, that helps, right? And that's poor Marine Bank. My husband and I just drove by there the other night going to some event, and he hadn't been by, and it's like, oh gosh, look at their trees. And
those tornadoes did some
very consolidated right there.
Yeah.
But a little lighting does really go a long way. And so that's kind of, I was not the one who originally kind of engaged you guys to work with Main Street. So how did that kind of come about originally? Do you remember?
How did that come about?
Were you guys just coming to like coffee with the mayor and
we
to people?
Yeah, we attend there regularly. Always connect with Joe Coakley.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was Joe that mentioned it to Matt. I forget. And then we chatted with Matt. I forget how it came about, but I think Joe mentioned it to Matt, and Matt engaged us along with Kilted Mermaid, Linda, along with Linda. Yeah, and so we met with them and kind of chat, and it wasn't necessarily they kind of had some ideas, but now it seems like you guys are really coming at it in a really a focused way now.
Yeah,
a little more enthusiasm with a focus of what you're really looking to accomplish.
Well, I think not to make this podcast about Main Street, but when I kind of got voted in to be president of the board, what we had a stipend for Christmas lighting.
Yeah.
So you guys did Christmas lights and then took them down and put them up and took them down and things like that. And when I kind of came around in October and you and I connected, we were just coming off of, or I guess we were still trying to get the referendum passed. Right. So initially we had just talked about, okay, how do we get our Christmas lights up and make it pretty, for downtown Friday and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then through kind of talking to you and walking the street with you and looking at things, I started to think like, well, maybe we could just leave these up year round, and then maybe we could add more. And then, the board was talking to the city council and the referendum didn't pass. So now it kind of became, with the help of Jason Jeffries and the city planners, what's some low hanging fruit that we could do? Because to me, and, my heart is that there are business owners and there are property owners on Main Street who have poured their whole livelihoods into making something happen down here. And they get up every single day, as you and I know. Some days that's very difficult to do. And, they've kind of put it all on the line. So if there's some things maybe that for all the reasons the city is not able to do to help them kind of maximize what they're doing and investing down here, then if Main Street can help to maximize it a little bit more, whatever we can do to sprinkle a little, frosting on the top or whatever, let's just do it. So we're trying to put whatever budget Main Street has towards adding more lights downtown. We put together kind of a decorative plan, you and I and the board, and, with the help of T.P. Kennedy and Linda Moore and Joe Catalgo and John Coutinho. Everybody has kind of weighed in and I think feels good about this idea that if we really make the walkable core feel bright and pretty and safe, that hopefully people will linger longer at the businesses down here, maybe try a new business they haven't tried before, or a new restaurant or a new bar. So that's better for all the property owners, all the business owners. Everybody can benefit that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't quite catch the full value of the vision until I was down here the other night. I texted you that one of them were out and I put it back on, and I looked across the street and I saw the restaurant full and I saw the dance class going and I saw some people walking under the lights, and I was like, oh, like this, it definitely adds to when you think about, okay, well, we're going to go on a date tonight. Okay, we're going to do this, that, where do I want to go? And it adds an emotional connection to afterwards you go for a walk, and it's a neat thing. I could see it that night when we set them up when it's full daylight.
Oh, right.
Or it's early in the morning, so I'm getting hit by cars.
You're not working in the middle of the night with the lights on.
Yeah. So I actually saw it on, and I saw like a little glimpse of downtown alive, and that was a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's awesome. That's what we want. Like Monday through Friday, the businesses that are open to have people that want to come down and walk downtown.
Right. That any night of the week, that it doesn't have to be a Saturday, that there's something going on.
And the park was well lit too, between the lights on the Heritage Center and some of the various lights around the street, and then the tree lights. Like it was like the park felt fairly
starting to feel a little bit like a scene.
Yeah.
You guys did the Heritage Center lights too, or
the ones that are on the roof line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did those. That was just kind of like we try in July to do Christmas in July, and we try to do like some kind of good donation or something to give back, and so we did the Heritage Center one. And we don't do well at promoting that kind of stuff, but
well, you can only do so much in a day.
This is true. This is true. So that was a lot of fun.
Who has time to actually promote their own business when you're just working the business? I mean,
yeah, it's a fine
line. Yeah. So I think it's working. People are very excited so far about so what we've done so far, for those of you watching at home who haven't seen, is we've wrapped several oak trees down in front of the Heritage Center at the corner of 14th and 21st Street.
Yeah.
So you can walk down there. And do they come on at dusk or at a certain time?
Yeah, I think they're set to come on at like 5. It's probably set for 6 now. 6 through midnight kind of thing. It might go off at 11 just for the apartments. I think it goes off around 11.
Okay. Yeah. And it is very bright and cheerful, and
yeah, I was surprised when I saw it. I was like, oh.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference, because I do think sometimes, especially we originally talked about starting down at that end of the street because for downtown Fridays,
Yeah.
when we're putting vendors down there and it gets dark and dusky, sometimes that's not people's favorite area
Right.
to be placed in. And
Yeah.
it feels like, oh, I don't want to kind of be on the dark corner of
Yeah.
Main Street. So yeah, we said, well, let's start there and then let's figure out how we can maybe fund and put together a plan for the rest of the street. So far, we do have some of the different property owners that are willing to contribute. I think I've talked to you about what Main Street is trying to do, and this may change and move depending on stuff that the city is doing, and we can be flexible that way. But we're doing an informal bid, business improvement district, and collecting funds through the 501c3 of Main Street to help fund kind of putting the lights up. But you guys are also really giving us a deal, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, that's our pleasure.
Working with the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not having to pay retail rate, which we appreciate. So because it's a big street, 14th Avenue, you think about it and you're like, oh, it's so funny. One of the girls who works for me, we were getting lunch down at Taco Dive, and she's like, oh, I'll just walk. I'm like, wearing heels, don't walk, like take your car. She's like, oh, no, it's not that far. And I was like, well, it's your choice if you want to. So she leaves. She comes back a few minutes later. She's like, I forgot there's that extra block in between.
Yeah. It's easy to forget that. Yeah.
It can kind of all blend together in your mind. But it's a long street. And there's kind of restaurants and bars anchoring both ends. And in the middle, there's art galleries and some of the hair salons and some retail and things like that. So to light it all will be a little bit of a job.
It will. It will be. Yeah, and I think we're looking forward to the challenge. I think it'll be a mix of some of what we want to do will be like super straightforward, and then others will be a little more complicated. But once we get it, I can see the vision, like linking it through. It'll be really like a lot of fun. And make it a really fun place to be. And it kind of, because it has gaps right now. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like if you're down by Taco Dive and I forget the restaurants there,
the Bayou and Bocce, Armani's, Post and Vine and Curfew. It's like a whole little dice strip. Yeah, and Kilted's right on the other side.
Yeah, and then it kind of there's the gaps, right? So we've
and there's the Firestone Tire Place,
and that's going to add value for the building owners down here and for the businesses down here.
Yeah,
because it brings people down.
Right.
And we've got some really great vendors down here, like some really great service providers.
Well, even last night I started in a meeting at Cobalt at the Kempton at like 4 p.m. And then, my office is right here on 14th and we back up to 21st Amendment. So a few of us were going to go back to 21st and work on some grant writing. And a couple of the other ladies were like, oh, where are you going? We're like, oh, 21st. Well, where is that? Well, across the bridge. I've never been there. Can we come with you?
Yeah.
So they get in the car and we brought them over and they're like, oh, we've never been over here. And, like, oh, where are we? And, but it's, again, to go back to, I just really appreciate that there are business owners that they've made an investment in their space. They're trying to do something cool. They're, trying to be a little bit innovative themselves. So how can we support them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I had another question for you about lighting stuff. Oh, so people always ask me, and we can cut this out if we don't like how this segment turns out. But people ask me about the string lights and the market lights across the road. And you and I have talked a little about that. Do you want to share a little bit? We've got kind of a plan, maybe.
Yeah, it is something we can look at. We have to figure out how far down we can go for trucks and so on to get through. But like the market lights are great. You just have to have a lot of them to achieve, like to really to make the desired effect to it, because that's such a big space.
Yeah,
I think if we do that in little gaps and little spaces as fillers, that would be a great side touch. And then we could do we have these spheres that we do as well that really they cast light far and they look really classy.
Explain the spheres to people.
So
I've seen them. I think they're gorgeous.
It almost looks like a basketball. With the stripes around this way kind of thing. And it's like LED lights. And it looks like, they almost look like stars. Depending on how far you're away from them, they can almost look like stars. We had one customer put them in her backyard among her oak trees. And it just looks gorgeous when you contrast it with a sunset or the sunrise. Not sunrise, looking at the sunrise.
Well, some people might be that crazy.
let the sun set, and they cast lightly. So you suspend them. We can suspend them from cables, and so they're really easy to work with, really reliable.
Yeah.
And not they're fairly costly, but not like to fix and so on. Not super hard to maintain. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
We so yeah, I think we're gonna try a couple, right, in the oak trees.
Yeah.
See how we like them.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about we have to hang them maybe perhaps out of reach of curious hands, just because. But so if we're wrapping the trunks of the oaks and then maybe hanging some spheres up in the branches, hopefully then now the whole tree feels like it's lit and is a little bit of a beacon from wherever you're standing on the street type of thing.
Yeah.
And then to hang the string lights, I think we've talked a little bit with or I've talked with a couple of property owners. I think that I don't want to call anybody out, but they're like, yes, what do I need to do to get those hung on my building?
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I think it's that, number one, they have to be long enough because a lot of the street is kind of wider.
Yeah.
Than if you're in other parts of Florida and you see people using those types of lights, sometimes the streets are narrower.
Yeah. Yeah. So now
and then we
they
have
like the idea of the spheres, or they like the market lights?
The market light.
The market lights. So, I mean, it depends on the space. It depends on the space, like to get those.
But we have to put maybe some type of pole or something they can attach to.
If they mount poles. I mean, if we had a massive budget, we could fill the whole downtown or the whole strip with poles on the roofs and market lights going back and forth. But so poles on the top.
We have to start somewhere.
And then cables that we could just drop, or the for the spheres it would just be like cabling from pole to pole, and then we would drop them from the cabling into the middle of the street kind of thing. But again, it comes to clearances. We could get up high enough with those market lights that's a lot more expensive than.
It's the only issue really is on the 1-story buildings, right? Getting them high enough. Right, the 2-story buildings probably tall.
Also, but you still want to put some kind of thing that you could affix it to on the top of it. But but we wouldn't have to have too high a pole. The 1-story would be where we'd have to have a higher pole. Yeah, probably something that's black and doesn't reflect, or dark gray and doesn't reflect, so it's less noticeable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But kind of out of the sight line so that you can't see it as you're walking by.
Right.
Yeah.
Just all the considerations.
Yeah, you have to make sure, because building owners aren't going to want to see like these antennas off their buildings, right?
Right. I wonder if we could camouflage it with something, make it look like a flamingo or whatever hanging out of the roof.
Giant flamingo.
It's just the local wildlife. I don't know why you're talking about.
That's right. Don't worry, that's just the flamingo.
Yeah. Nothing to see here. So we've got these oak trees down at the one end. I think we talked about starting now at the other end of the street.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of keep chipping away at it. But we did put up on the Main Street website, there's a lighting project page now with photos of, kind of the oak trees as they are so far. And we'll keep updating that. That also has a link to kind of our statement about the BID and that process. And then there's links if anyone wants to become a gold or diamond level member of Main Street. That money will be put directly towards as a donation to the lighting project.
Awesome.
So anyway, Main Street, verobeach.org.
It looks good.
But where can you guys be found if they want to engage either Shackshine or the mortgage?
Okay. Yeah. So thanks. Shackshine can be found at shackshine.com, or on Facebook, Shackshine Treasure Coast, or Instagram, Shackshine Treasure Coast. Yeah, Shackshine Treasure Coast there as well.
Okay.
And that's the best place to reach us. And then Revo Financial is just Revo, REVO.financial.
Okay.
You can find us www.revo.financial.
It's very easy.
That's the place.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for stopping and chatting and sharing all this with me. And
great to chat with you.
No, I'm excited. We're gonna do some cool things, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited. You're doing a great job. You're doing a really good job. Thanks for taking it up, because I think it's not the easiest of roles to take up.
Well,
it's an important.
We have a really great board, and I said this at Coffee with the Mayor, where we are all standing on the shoulders of the people who came before us.
Yeah.
So Joe Coakley did a lot of really great work with Main Street and kind of set some good things up and got some balls rolling, and now we're just gonna be the ones to continue pushing them, and then somebody's going to have to come along after us and keep it all moving. So, but I appreciate everything that you guys do to help participate as well.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Our pleasure.
All right, everybody, that's all for today. Go watch all the other videos. Go follow us on social media and come to the next Coffee with the Mayor, where we will hopefully have more updates about all these things. Thanks and see ya.